Hey guys, so I wanted to do a quick apology. I took and got a new phone. And as you guys mostly know, I use my phones to kind of do my recording and my updating for everything. And then I take it to my computer and I edit it from there. Well, I was with PagePlus, and I called up PagePlus to ensure that the Keyocera Force Pro 2 would work with their service. I spent a half hour on the phone. They checked two different ones, the ones I ended up purchasing for Monica and myself, and they assured me they would work with their system. So I was like, great, I'll go ahead and I'll spend all this money. I'll get her a new phone, me a new phone. I'll get some fancy cases for these phones, and we'll have great working phones again instead of the halved phones that we had, mine being falling apart externally and hers being falling apart internally. So we took and did that and set them up on PagePlus. We didn't think anything was wrong. We were able to make and receive phone calls, and we were able to get onto the internet. We thought that was great. We were done. We spent, I think a good 2-3 days texting each other and not receiving replies from each other. And we couldn't figure out why we weren't replying to each other. So finally in the car we made mention, hey, did you get all my text messages the last couple of days? Because you haven't been replying. And Monica goes, nope. And I go, I haven't gotten any of yours either. So we tested it right in front of each other. And we could send. How I know we could send is because I had an AT&T phone that is through the business, and I was able to receive the text messages from both of our phones, but we weren't able to receive text messages ourselves. So on our new Keyocera Force Pro 2s, we were able to send text messages, but not receive text messages. So I called up PagePlus, and I spent, I want to say about almost 2.5 hours on the phone initially with them, before they're like, well, we are going to escalate this up to a supervisor, because I have no idea why it's not working. It should be working because everything else of yours is working. So, and it connects to our network, so it should be working. So they escalated me up to a supervisor and had a fun little talk about them. They said they would call me back within 24 hours. And I said, so I'll talk to a supervisor in the next 24 hours? No, sir. Within 24 hours. Okay, so it will take up to 24 hours for a supervisor to get back in touch with me. No, sir. Within 24 hours. And I'm like, these are all the same words, or not same words, but I'm using them to mean the same thing, but they were probably reading off a teleprompter and everything, you know. Anyway, So while I'm waiting for a supervisor to get a hold of me, I am now specifically Googling and DuckDuckGoing the phrases Keyocera Duraforce Pro 2 not able to receive text messages. And lo and behold, if you type in that phrase, there's like a bagajillion of people that have the same issue. And Keyocera Duraforce, or Keyocera I should say, has a workaround for your cellular company to allow it to use this phone. Apparently, the previous technology uses a lot of CDMA, and that's what PagePlus is on. PagePlus is on a CDMA service. The Keyocera Duraforce Pro 2, I know that's quite a mouthful, but this phone, is on GSM. So essentially that's like trying to get your AM radio to pick up FM radio sounds. You have to change your signal to be able to do that. So they were telling me, so I called up to them and I'm like, hey, they say that you're supposed to add CDMA less provisioning to my account and it should work, because that's the workaround for every other network out there, is what Keyocera is saying. So they tell me that they can't do that. That their network is specifically CDMA, and that I will have to take this Verizon phone that I'm trying to get activated on PagePlus to the eBay store and have them exchange this phone for a working phone. I kind of had to giggle at that, and explain to the person that the eBay store is not necessarily a brick and mortar store. It's more of a group of people selling things to a group of people. And that went over really well. She's like, well, sir, then take it back to the person and he'll be able to give you a working phone. Okay, whatever. Then they came up, well, there's another option. You could take that Verizon phone to a Verizon store and they will be able to unlock it to use on our CDMA network. So I'm sitting there looking at it, and again, it says that this phone is GSM only. It doesn't actually have a CDMA radio in it. So I kind of went, so basically I've got to go to your competitor and tell them to unlock this phone so I can use it with their competitor. Yes, sir, they'll be happy to do it for you. Oh, okay, whatever. So that was another 2.5 hours. So, total about 4 or 5 hours spent on the phone troubleshooting, and a half hour spent on the phone initially making sure that this would work. So I go into the Verizon store and I'm kind of like, I know this is silly. PagePlus says you can kind of fix this phone to work on a different network than what it's set up for. While you're double checking that, let me go ahead and see your plans. So we ended up switching from PagePlus to Verizon. Nothing against PagePlus's cellular service. This is unfortunately on PagePlus's customer service. So PagePlus does really great, provides cheap, prepaid-ish phone service. For example, I was paying $50 a month for unlimited everything, no throttling, I was guaranteed 4G services. Just if my internet usage went over 60 gig in 1 month, they reserved the right to review my internet usage and make sure that it had fit their contract for what I could use my internet for. Which, big deal. I only got close a couple of times. I know, like I said, I use my phone a lot for internet and for you guys here on YouTube on 3 different channels. So basically, then we went, and with Verizon's plan, we ended up spending, I think we're spending about $10 to $20 more a month. But we are getting quite a bit more stuff, i.e., we're getting a limited, but we are getting a hotspot. We are getting the Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus bundle. We are getting, it's like Apple Radio. We are getting iCloud storage, all this type of stuff that we can use. So, since we do watch sometimes Disney Plus, and I did once watch ESPN Plus, I was like, this is kind of a good deal, because we're spending the money anyway, and we're going to be spending the money anyway coming up to watch Mandalorian, which is an awesome show. And we thought, why not? Let's go ahead and give it a try. Set it up, and lo and behold, within a few seconds, Monica's phone went bling, 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 all over the crazy place. And she got like a bajillion text messages from everyone. For some reason, my phone had been sending back a universal delete on all these text messages, so I didn't get any text messages. But now I can send and receive text messages, so I'm just going through and trying to figure out who has sent me text messages and who hasn't sent me text messages, because this has been a 4-day endeavor. Maybe a little bit longer, but at least a 4-day endeavor to finally get these phones to be able to work on a network. So I get this phone, and this phone is capable of night and 4K and 120 frames a second and all these bells and whistles and everything, and I'm all excited about using it. And so I go through and I record most of book 1, or I should say Les Miserables, book 1, Fontaine's book 1, I should say. Anyway, however you say that, the big huge book by Victor Hugo, Les Mis, and we are in the series of books called Fontaine, and we are in book 1. And I recorded almost the whole thing on this phone. It's sparse, pause, stop, play, whatever. And got it all recorded, all figured out, all on this phone, because again, this phone has a nice, good-sized memory. And I get home to start editing and cleaning it all up and making it work for you guys. And all of a sudden, all it is static. I mean, you can hear me, but 90% of the time it's just... And then as I speak, you get a louder spike of static and my voice comes through. So I'm like, oh, great. After all that work, I can't use my phone to make these recordings that I was hoping to be able to do with it. So I'm sitting there, researching it and looking it up and trying to figure things out. And then I finally went, you know what? Dirt and such can cause that. So, since this phone is waterproof, I'm going to give it a bath. I'm going to kind of give it a little bit of a spritz and a spray in and around on everything with lukewarm water, and put soap and bubbles and get a toothbrush and scrub inside all these little tiny holes everywhere. And lo and behold, it worked. By the way, hopefully you guys can see that beautiful, beautiful view. That's part of why I love this drive. Besides that beautiful view right there. But anyway, so that's kind of what we ended up doing. Spending a ton of time, spending a ton of memory recording, and finding out it's all null and void. So that's why for the past almost 2 weeks, there hasn't been anything that has been released on the Hitchcock Handyman YouTube channel, on this one, Papa Ben's Vlogs YouTube channel, or on the Monica's Projects YouTube channel. So that's kind of what we've been working on, trying to figure out, trying to get it all going. And I think we are finally there to where this phone is not producing static for everything. This phone it is working really good, and we should, as soon as I start getting caught up on those readings, start pushing more of that book out so that we can get to other books. Because with the Les Mis series, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read one book at a time, and then go on to the next, and then read another book of Les Mis, and then go on to another, and so on and so forth until I finally make it through the Les Mis book, which is like a 4-inch, 3.5-inch book. And so there's quite a lot of books in there. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to my ranting and raving and my craziness that happened. You all have a wonderful and blessed day.